Ah!
Hey everyone, it's Dave here at bluebearsgames, and this week's non-shorts video is actually going to be a series that I have not really abandoned, but like just haven't been doing in a while because the Commander stuff is kind of taken over a little bit, and then I have the shorts. But we're going to be doing a Blues Budget Battle Brood video or a 4B video. I'm doing this because I hadn't expected it, but I started listing the decks back up on Facebook, for the $20 that I normally sell them for. And while I was going to do this video before I started doing the Commander videos, I kind of got lost. So this week's video is going to be a mono blue mill regular 60 card kitchen table deck. Remember that I have a explanation video on the Quad B or Blues Budget Battle Brews videos, what they're all about, how they work, stuff like that. And there is a giveaway in that video for one of the decks if we hit 500 subscribers. So let me get into the deck. It is literally mono blue mill. All right. So what is the strategy of the deck? Well, I mean, I've told you a couple times, but it's just mill, mill, mill. However, remember, when milling somebody, they do not lose the game until they are forced to draw a card, and they can't. Keep that in mind. All right. Let me go over the deck, and then, I'll show you what I put in it, and then we'll go from there. All right. I started with the Merfolk Secret Keeper for a couple of reasons. It's a 1 blue for a 0/4, but the sorcery, which you'll cast first most of the time, is that target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. It has now been changed to target player mills 4 cards. It's basically the same thing. But for 1, you can do it. So that's 4 cards, and there are 2 of them, so you can get 8 cards off of your opponent's library out of the 60. For the most part, that's what you're going to be facing is 60 cards. And then you can put an 0/4. It's not a wall, but it's pretty much a wall out there to block for you. The next card is a Ruin Crab. This is one of the new hotter mill cards in Magic. It's a blue for an 0/3, so it has a big ass. It has landfall, so anytime you play a land, whenever that happens, whenever a land comes into play under your control, each opponent mills 3 cards. There is another crab out there that does something similar. It's a little expensive. I think they're like $5 a piece, called a Hedron Crab. So I got 2 of these in there instead, just because they're not quite that high yet. Vantress Gargoyle is in here because it is centered around mill for the most part. It's a 2 cast 5/4. It's not going to be a 5/4 that does anything for you until a little later in the game, not too long. It has flying, so it's good for blocking flying creatures. It can't attack unless the defending player has 7 or more cards in their graveyard. Shouldn't be a problem in this deck. And it can't block unless you have 4 or more cards in your hand. And then it taps to have each player put the top card of their library into their graveyard. So, Wall of Lost Thoughts, you wouldn't believe it, but the Wall of Lost Thoughts is actually quite monetarily expensive. I don't understand why. They're over 50 cents a piece for an uncommon. It's a wall. It has Defender, so it's literally there just to stop your opponent from attacking into you. When it enters the battlefield, target player mills 4 cards. 2 of them. Jace's Mind Secrets. It's the first rare. It's a 6 cast 4/4 flyer, and then when it enters the battlefield, target opponent mills 5 cards. And then you may cast an instant or sorcery from among the cards that were milled, and you can do it for free. In budget decks, you want to be able to draw. I want to keep keep the hand full, keep putting fuel into the hand so that you can keep doing it. So obviously I've chosen Opts. Divinations I've put 4 of so you can draw cards. Some more mill cards. We went with Tomb Scour. It's 1 blue and then target player mills 5 cards. Got 2, 3, 4 of them. The foil that I chose, because remember all the Blues Budget Battle Brews have at least 1 foil rare or 1 mythic rare, as a 4th rare, a foil rare, or a mythic rare. So it's 2 to cast, kicker of 4, so it could be 2 or 6, and then each opponent mills 8 cards, or if it was kicked, instead each opponent mills half their library. Mind Sculpt, this is what's going to get you to that 7. Target opponent mills 7 cards for 2. Got 4 of them in there. Negates are to help stop any, thing that could arise that would help kill you. Stops, I don't know, direct damage like lightning bolts or shocks or anything like that, or any Wrath of Gods in case like you have your crab out and you don't want it to die. So got 2 of them. Nullifies, 2 to cast as well, just like negates. Counters a creature spell or an aura spell, which is basically an enchantment that enchants a creature or something. It'll have a little dash aura on the enchantment. So play a set of those. The last, I believe this is our last rare, Folio of Fancies. It's 2 to cast artifact. All players have no maximum hand size at this point. For double X, so for each 2 you put into it and tap it, each player draws X cards. So for 2 mana and tap, each player draws a card. For 4 mana, each player draws 2 cards, and so on. And for a blue 2 and tap, each opponent puts the number of cards equals the number of cards in their hand on the into their graveyard from the top of their library. Basically, it's mill. So you mill equal to number of cards in hand. Jace's Erasure is an enchantment that helps with that. With the milling, so whenever you draw a card and you have plenty of stuff to draw cards in, you may have target player mill 1 card. Got 4 of them. Curse of the Blade Tomb, another enchantment, it's 3 to cast. You enchant a player, so you're going to enchant your opponent, obviously, and then at the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, that player mills 2 cards. And there's 2 of them, so you can do it twice. Teferi's Tutelage, it's a 3 to cast enchantment, and it says when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and discard a card, and then whenever you draw a card, target opponent mills 2 cards. So you see where that's going. That's why I have the draw cards in here. Other than for fuel, it helps that engine get going. Oops, didn't mean to hit the camera. For lands, I have a Blighted Cataract, so you can, again, draw more cards. And then the rest is just basically islands. And that's the basic premise or idea behind this mono blue mill deck. It's a simple, simple little, I don't know. I know people hate mill a lot. I've always played mill ever since I was young, and I played this game, I believe one of my first quote-unquote meta architects or whatever you want to do was this with millstones and counter magic. It was blue-white mill, Wrath of God, stuff like that. So I like to keep this alive. I know people hate it. They think it's not a valid strategy. You know what? Fuck them. It's a valid strategy. Stop hating. Anyway, so that's the deck. I'm going to give you a couple of options that you can go with it. You can upgrade the deck if you do purchase it. Unfortunately, for a lot of you, this specific deck has actually been purchased. That's why I'm doing the video now. I'm going to try to put another version together later, but for now, I'll have to wait until I don't know if I have enough of the cards that go in here to make another version, but I will try. Anyway, some of the upgrades, and especially for the person who purchased it, for me, I would definitely add additional Maddening Cacophonies. They are absolutely one of the best mill spells out there, and they have made some new ones since then, and I think the Dungeons & Dragons or in the Kaldheim set, I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it was Strixhaven. There was new stuff in there, so I would change in some of them. Maybe add a Court of Cunning or 2. A Sphinx's Tutelage would go in place of the Jace's Erasures, because they are the same thing where if you draw a card, your opponent mills a card, but on Sphinx's Tutelages, if they share colors, it repeats, so it's great for monocolor decks, against monocolor decks. I would change out divinations for things, depending on how you're playing. If you're just doing kitchen table, it doesn't matter. Something like Brainstorm, or, of that ilk, better draw spell for cheaper, because we already have the opt for 1. Brainstorm is the natural progression for that as well. It's one of the best draw spells in the game. You draw 3, but then you put 2 back, and it's draw, not put 3 cards in your hand. I would change out the Nullifies and put in some counterspells, maybe. Actual, literal counterspell, the 2 to cast one. Maybe put in Mana Leaks for negates, because it doesn't just do non-creature spells, but it does all spells. So that's an option you can do as well. For creatures, I would trade out the Merfolk's Secret Keepers for some more Ruin Crabs, or go get yourself the other crab that mills people. It's a 1 to cast 0/3 as well, but it says target opponent or target player, I can't remember. I may even put it up here to show you what it is. They mill just like with the Ruin Crabs, only it's not each opponent, it's target opponent, I believe. And lastly, on the lands, I mean, honestly, there's not really much you can do in a mono blue that would change out for mill, except for a card from, I believe it was Our Devastation, Ipnu Rivulets. They help with the mill, so it's just doubling down on mill. Those are some of the upgrade options that you can choose for it. However you want to do it, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever makes you have fun. So that's the deck. I'm going to tell you now, This deck may have sold, but I have plenty of other decks. The Blues budget battle brew decks, I have, I believe, 30 or 35 now that I've gotten. I've only done videos on about 7 of them, and I'm going to get to them, I promise you. It's just been very commander heavy lately, just because a lot of things have been happening with new sets and all the new commanders. So I will get to them eventually. This is just I have to get this done because the deck is gone, and I don't know if I can redo this deck specifically. So I wanted to make sure I got the deck video done before I send it out, so that the person who purchased it can actually watch the video if they want some help. Go to the Facebook page if you'd like to look at what I have. I'm starting to put everything back up on the Facebook Marketplace. Whatever the issue was with the Facebook Marketplace and me putting stuff up has been resolved, and now I can start selling them again there, but I'd rather sell them direct without having to involve Facebook. So other than going to the Facebook page, which is bluebearsgames.online, just look me up on Google and you can find me. I'm pretty simple. I mean, you've seen what my symbol looks like. It's everywhere. Worst case scenario, you can send me a email at bluebearsgames@gmail.com and I'll go over everything you would like to. Shipping on this, so they're $20 a piece. Shipping gets combined for more than one deck. The more decks you buy, the cheaper it's going to cost you. And we can work out a deal on multiple deck purchases on the price, so we can bring it down from 20 to maybe 15 a deck if you order enough of them. So either way, get a hold of me if you want to. After that, that's my time for this week. Send me a message if you need to. I've already showed you how. Like this video, please. Subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything to do so, and it helps out my analytics when you do both. And share this out to anybody who may be looking at mill, or if you hate somebody so much that you want to show them how nasty a mill deck can be on a budget. Imagine not on a budget, and you just want to throw it in their face. Who cares? Either way, do all those things for me. That would be greatly appreciated. And then I will see you all next week.